Prince Harry and his wife's entire lives over the course of the last decade or so can be viewed as an exercise in intimidation by the UK media. Think of all the people you know who've got strong opinions about Prince Harry, a military hero, or indeed about his wife, a successful actress. Think of all the people you know in your life who've got strong opinions about them. Oh, no, I don't like them, or I don't trust her. Where do you think those opinions came from? You can malign and demonise innocent people so completely and comprehensively that you've probably got family members who think that they have a bead upon these two characters, while Paul Dacre's personal history will be completely new to them. They'll know nothing about the man responsible for newspaper headlines that wouldn't have been out of place in 1930s Germany. And yet Harry and his wife have been turned into, or the massive attempt to turn them into, pariahs, public enemies. That's how it works. It's also, of course, how the mafia works.
There is something chilling about repetition. When the same accusations are recycled again and again, not because new facts have emerged, but because the old narrative must be kept alive at all costs. That is what this image captures so starkly. Not a single moment, not a single broadcast, but a pattern of fixation that reveals panic more because nothing confuses critics more
Prince
than
Harry
people who
has
are
become the
unbothered
most
and
convenient
thriving.
distraction
in
Think
modern
about it.
British media history.
There were endless predictions.
Whenever the monarchy faces
They'll
uncomfortable
regret it.
questions
They'll
about
fail.
relevance,
They'll come
transparency or
crawling
public
back.
trust, the
They won't
spotlight
survive
swings
outside the
back to
system.
Harry. Not
And
because
yet,
he
here
is responsible,
they are still standing,
but because
still
he is
smiling,
useful, still
he
building,
absorbs the
still
noise,
creating,
so the
still
institution
moving
doesn't
forward,
have to.
like two people
And yet,
who
the
simply
irony
decided
is unavoidable.
Yeah, we're good, actually.
The more Harry is targeted,
It's almost comical
the
at
clearer
this
it
point
becomes.
Every
that he was
year,
never
there's some
the
dramatic
problem.
forecast, and
What
every year
unsettles the
they
system
quietly prove
is
it
not
wrong
Harry's
just by
criticism.
living their lives.
It is his
No
independence.
dramatic speeches required.
Harry represents
just
something
vibes
profoundly destabilizing
and hard work
to inherited power.
Because let's clear
Choice.
something up right away.
He
This
chose
idea
to
that they're
leave.
just lounging around
He chose
somewhere
to
sipping
speak.
green juice
He chose
and
to
ignoring
protect
the
his
world
family
is
rather
hilarious
than
his image. Harry
And most
Meghan
dangerously of
are
all,
busy.
he chose
like
not to be
calendar
afraid
packed
of
double
losing
booked
status.
What day is it again?
Institutions
built
busy.
on hierarchy,
Projects,
cannot tolerate
causes,
that kind of freedom.
production
work. For decades,
speaking
the
engagements,
monarchy has relied
creative
on an
ventures,
unspoken bargain
advocacy.
with the media. They didn't step back to
Access
disappear
in exchange for
They
loyalty.
stepped back to build. Silence in
And
exchange
that's a huge
for protection.
difference.
There's
Favourable
something really
coverage in
admirable
exchange for
about
compliance.
watching people choose
It
intention
is not
over
conspiracy.
expectation. It is culture.
So
many people stay stuck
And that
in
culture
lives that
worked
drain
as
them
long as everyone
simply because
stayed
it's
in their
familiar. Assigned role.
Because it's easier.
Harry did
Because
not.
everyone expects
And when
it.
Meghan Sussex entered
Harry
the picture,
could have done that.
the disruption
He could have
multiplied.
stayed exactly where he
She
was.
did not arrive
followed the same
pre-trained
routine,
in
smiled
deference
for the
to
same
British
photos,
tabloid culture,
shaken the same hands.
She questioned things
and repeated
she
the same
expected
script
fairness
forever.
She believed words
Safe,
mattered.
predictable,
That alone was enough
comfortable,
to mark her
but
as a
also
threat.
heavy.
From
And
that
you could
moment
see
on,
that
the
heaviness
narrative
before.
hardened. There used to be
Notice
this
how
weight
criticism
in his eyes
of Meghan
sometimes was rarely
like
about
he was
actions.
constantly bracing himself.
It was about tone,
constantly aware,
about ambition,
constantly on guard,
about not understanding how things are
now
done. He looks like someone who
These are not
sleeps well.
critiques.
They
That
are
might sound
social
small,
punishments.
but it's huge.
They exist to enforce
Good sleep is
conformity.
undefeated.
Harry,
Peace of mind
meanwhile,
is
was
undefeated.
reframed from grieving
And when you
son
see him
to
now
disloyal
joking,
troublemaker.
relaxed,
His
speaking
trauma
openly,
was minimized.
laughing mid-sentence,
His experiences
you
were
realise
questioned.
something shifted.
His motives
He didn't
were
lose
dissected
anything.
endlessly
He gained
by people
freedom.
who had never
Freedom
met him
to
but felt
choose what
entitled
matters, to define
freedom
him.
to say no.
And this is where
Freedom
the smear
to work
campaign
on
crossed from
projects
cruelty
that actually
into
light him up
danger.
instead of ones
Because when you
that just look
normalise
good
dehumanisation,
on a schedule,
you
that's
invite
powerful.
escalation.
Because when
The
someone
language
operates
used to
from
describe
freedom
Harry
instead
has
of
often been
obligation,
reckless.
the energy
He is portrayed as
completely
unstable,
different. It's
obsessed,
lighter,
vindictive,
warmer,
or
more
controlled.
authentic.
These
And Meghan
narratives
matches
are
that
not
energy
just
perfectly.
unfair. They are
If Harry feels like
irresponsible.
calm strength,
They
Meghan
ignore the
feels
very
like
real
focused
consequences
momentum of relentless
She's
public
thoughtful,
hostility,
but decisive,
especially towards
graceful,
someone who
but
has
direct,
spoken openly about
creative,
loss
but
and
practical.
mental health. And one thing you'll notice, the media claims
She doesn't
concern
waste time
while
arguing
behaving
with
with
noise.
indifference. She doesn't clap back
What
at
makes
every
this
critic.
moment different, however,
She doesn't
is
try
that
to
people
convince
are no
everyone
longer
to
passively
like her.
consuming
She
the
simply
story.
works. create
Audiences
something,
are comparing
launch
something,
something,
support
they are
something,
noticing inconsistencies.
Meanwhile,
They are asking
the
why
internet
certain
is still
behaviours are
debating
excused for
something
some
from 3
and
years
weaponized
ago.
against others.
It's honestly kind of funny.
They are asking
It's like
why
watching
silence
someone
is
run a
praised
marathon
when it
while
protects
people
the
on the
institution,
sidelines argue
but
about their
condemns
shoelaces
when it protects
She's already
an
5
individual.
miles ahead. And
They're
that's probably
asking
what makes
why
them such
Harry
a strong
is expected
team.
to absorb
They don't
endless
react to
abuse
every storm.
with dignity.
They just keep
While
walking,
the moment he responds,
steady,
he is
forward,
accused of
unbothered.
attacking the monarchy.
Its very main character
That double
energy, if we're
standard
being honest,
is no longer
not
invisible.
in an arrogant way.
The
In a
obsession with
grounded
Harry
way,
reveals
like
a
they
deeper
know exactly who
anxiety.
they are and
What
don't
happens
need
if
permission
people
to be it.
realise they don't
And that
need the
confidence,
institution to
it's
validate their
contagious.
worth? What
Because
happens if younger
watching them
generations
makes you
see
reflect
that
on your own
tradition
life.
without accountability?
It makes you think,
is just
wait, what am I
branding.
holding on to that I don't actually
Harry
need?
didn't burn
What
the
expectations
bridge.
am I
He
carrying
stepped
that
off
aren't
it.
even mine?
And from the system's perspective,
when was the last
that is
time I chose
unforgivable.
happiness on purpose?
The idea that history
instead
will
of
not be
just going
kind to
through the
certain
motions?
figures is not a threat.
That's what
it
their
is
story
an observation.
really represents.
History
Not
is shaped
drama,
by evidence,
not rebellion,
patterns,
but
and
choice.
outcomes.
The choice
And the
to
outcome
design
of this
your
relentless
life
campaign
instead of
has been
inheriting
a
one.
collapse in trust.
The choice
not
to
in
protect
Harry,
your peace
but in the
like it's
media
priceless.
itself.
The choice
Every
to say,
exaggerated
this doesn't work
headline,
for me anymore.
every panel
and actually
discussion
do something
framed as
about it.
debate, but stacked
Most people
with
never
predictable
get that
hostility.
brave.
Every
We talk about it,
insinuation
we dream
disguised
about
as
it,
concern,
but we rarely act
all of
on
it has chipped away
Harry
at credibility.
and Meghan acted.
People
And whether
can
people
tolerate
admit it or not,
disagreement.
that's
What they cannot
inspiring.
tolerate is
Terrifying
manipulation
to critics.
But
Meanwhile,
inspiring to
Harry
everyone
continues
else.
to do something radical
because there's
in its
something
simplicity.
deeply relatable
He
about
lives,
two people
he
simply
works,
wanting a
he
life
parents,
that feels
he advocates,
normal.
he
When you
builds,
really step
he
back
speaks
and
when it
tune out the
matters
noise
and
for a
stays
second,
silent
when you
when it
stop
doesn't.
listening to the endless chatter,
balance
the
is not
dramatic
weakness.
headlines,
It is
the
discipline.
so-called experts
And
with their
Meghan
daily
Sussex
predictions
continues to
and their
exist
permanent crystal
outside
balls,
the narrow
something
box she
very
was
simple
assigned
becomes clear.
She is not
about
reduced
Harry
to a
and Meghan.
caricature.
She
They
is
look
not
happy,
pleading for approval,
not staged
She is
happy,
not performing
not
obedience.
pose for the
she is
cameras
simply
happy,
living her
not
life.
the tight
which
smile
for
you
some
give when someone
remains
says
the
smile,
greatest offence of all.
and you're internally
The
screaming.
smear campaign
If you ever
was
thought
meant
the
to break
British
them.
tabloids were going
Instead,
to stop
it
obsessing
exposed
over
the
Meghan
fragility
Sussex,
of those who rely
let me
on it.
gently, lovingly,
Because strong
and very
institutions
realistically
do not
correct
need
you
to punch
right now.
down.
That was never going to
Confident
happen.
systems do not obsess
Because at this
over
point,
defectors.
Meghan could be sitting
Secure
quietly
power
at home,
does not require
drinking
constant
tea,
validation
folding
from
laundry,
tabloids.
helping her kids
The
with
louder
homework,
the attacks become,
running her business
the
calls
clearer
in
it
yoga
is
pants
that something is
and
slipping.
donating to charity.
This is
and
not
somehow,
somehow,
monarchy
some
ending
way,
tomorrow. The tabloids
It is
would
about
still manage to
legitimacy,
spin it into a
eroding
full-blown
quietly.
royal
It is about a
emergency.
public increasingly
Breaking
unwilling
news.
to accept
Meghan
narratives
Sussex exists
without evidence.
Cue panic.
It is about
Cue
global
outrage.
audiences
Cue a
who
think
do not
piece.
share
Cue
the
an
same
inside
cultural
source.
loyalties,
Questioning
cue the word
why
dilemma
cruelty
being used
is framed
incorrectly
as
for the
tradition.
500th time.
Harry
And
didn't
that
ask
brings
to be a
us
symbol,
to today's latest
but he became one
tabloid
anyway,
drama, which honestly
he became a
sounds
symbol
less like
of what
journalism
happens when
and
someone
more
refuses
like
to trade
badly
their
written
humanity
fan
for
fiction
approval.
for people who still haven't
When someone
emotionally
chooses
recovered
family over
from
optics,
2020. When someone values
according
truth
to
over
certain
comfort.
British tabloids,
And that is why
Meghan
this
Sussex
campaign is
will
now
never
facing
truly end
a so-called
because its
dilemma
purpose is not correction.
Why?
But control.
Because she has apparently been offered a
Yet
multi-million-dollar
control only
deal
works
to write a
when people
memoir about
consent
her
to
time
it.
in the royal family.
They are no
and
longer
allegedly
consenting.
this could somehow threaten
History
her marriage
is
to
not
Prince
written
Harry.
in real time.
Yes, it is
You
written
heard that
later,
right.
when
A
emotions
book,
settle
a
and
pen,
records remain.
words on paper.
And when that
Apparently
history is
powerful
written,
enough to
it will
destroy
note
a marriage
who spoke
that
with
has
restraint,
survived royal
who
exile,
acted with integrity,
international media
and who
harassment,
used power
lawsuits,
to silence
security
rather
threats,
than listen.
institutional silence,
Harry and
and global
will
scrutiny.
be remembered not for
Be
the
serious.
noise surrounding
So
them,
today,
but for what that
we're going to
noise
break this story
revealed.
all the way down.
A system
We're going to
afraid of
laugh where
scrutiny.
it deserves laughing.
A media
We're going to
addicted
call out the
outrage.
nonsense.
And a public
And most
that
importantly,
finally started
we're going to
paying
talk about
attention.
what this story
If
really
conversations
reveals,
like this
not about
resonate
Meghan
with you,
and Harry,
support
but about the media's
independent
long-standing
analysis.
obsession
Like,
with controlling
share,
Meghan
and
Sussex's
subscribe.
voice.
Because
And before
the
we go
truth
any further,
doesn't need
you
permission.
already know what
It only
to do.
needs space.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Because over here